For the first time ever, I am thrilled to say we have an official sponsor for the Dirt Talk podcast, and that's Ariat. I've worn Ariat boots on every job site I've visited over the years, traveling in them across 5 continents. More importantly, I have yet to find a single project where working folks, unlike me, are not wearing Ariat boots and workwear in every condition imaginable. And there's really good reason for that, and that's because it's phenomenal stuff. And the more I've learned about Ariat and the company, the more I've loved their brand. So with this, Ariat is offering any Dirt Talk listener 10% off their next Ariat order at ariat.com/dirttalk. That's 10% off boots, jeans, and workwear at ariat.com/dirttalk or at the link in this episode's description. With that, let's get to the show. Anyway, we were talking about 18-year-old boy man logic.
Yeah.
And how it oftentimes is just very linear, like X, Y, Z. So when I started it, or when I wanted to start a construction company when I was 18, because if I started a construction company, I could put my name on the company.
Yeah.
Which then meant my name would be on machines, which then meant I could run the machines whenever I wanted to.
That's a good line of logic, man. I like that.
Which was it was flawless logic at the time.
Yeah.
But like what you're saying, with everything you have going on, you're not in the machines too much.
Never. It's never. Like, I'm so far from the craft now that I love. It's a different deal now, though. Like, man, and we can talk about it. Like, it's more, you're in business for the people and the relationships and the lifetime of experiences with them than you are. The day that people aren't involved here is the day I don't want to be here anymore. Like, all the automation side is cool, but how do you differentiate yourself at that point?
Sure.
The whole industry's that way.
Yeah, but can the whole industry go that way?
No. Not in our lifetime.
No.
I don't see it. I mean, is it possible? Yes. Is it economical? No.
Yeah.
No. We're not mining. That's the biggest issue when we sat down with all these people. They want some, mining. I can't give you $500,000 a machine.
Yeah.
I can't. I've still got to be competitive.
Well, and mining, they're in a closed environment.
Yeah, static. No risk of the public, none of that.
Yeah. There's no gas line running through the mine.
Yeah, we're the hardest thing to come try and do this with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certain places, I think it'd work beautifully, but other places.
Yeah.
How do you do manhole tie-ins?
How do you differentiate when, there's some pretty cool stuff coming, but it's still, it's odd to me to watch I just saw a manufacturer do this the other day, how they say our customers are facing this workforce challenge, so this is our solution. And it was a automated machine. And it's just like, to me, that guy needs to get out into the field, like at some point, and just look around and see how the machines his company makes are used. Because it's just like, I understand what you're going for here, but it's very tone deaf, I feel like. So
he might be right from a few 30 years from now.
Sure.
To an extent, but not right now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We also talked about multi-generational businesses. This is a multi-generational business. Who started the company?
My grandfather.
So you're third generation.
That guy, but he never looked like that.
The guy over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Third generation. Yep. So you've been around the business your entire life.
Yeah. So I got a years of service award at Christmas for 30 years.
Nice.
So we do years of service award. I didn't know I was getting one. I would have told them not to make me one.
Yeah.
I got one and I accepted it with one other guy. We started doing this a couple of years ago, so we stagger them out. We've got guys that have been here 25 years, so every company meeting we'll go ahead and give them a 15-year, then a 20, then a 25. So we've been working through that.
What'd you get for your 30-year?
I didn't get anything. I
Oh,
didn't.
not even a cool jacket or something?
No, we actually make a cool, like a homemade, I'd call it a trophy, but it's a pretty cool setup.
Oh, okay.
Christina makes it for us. So
Yeah.
some of them have a dirt, like a pedestal with a dirt box and a little mini model in it. Mine was like a piece of granite with a leather wrap block with an excavator on top of it and a
That's pretty
placard.
cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
and we make them all here, so
Yeah.
they're all handmade. So, I learned a long time ago when you go to see guys in their home on their deathbed, something like that, if they're sick or ill, you'd be really surprised how much like a memento or an award or a plaque or certificate, like that's what they have.
Yeah.
A lot of times. And, unfortunately we went to a viewing for a long-time employee today, and he's in the casket, and he's in a 20-year-old Strack ink jacket. Like, he's been given plenty of other ones, but they put him in one that I know we gave out 2000 to 03 sometime in there. I was like, wow, I hadn't seen that in a long time. Like, me and Dad still have one, and that's probably it.
Wow.
That hit home,
Was getting into the business always the plan? Or did you?
Yeah. I knew it. I mean, I say birth, but by the time I was 2, 3, 4 years old, I mean, that's all I thought about.
Yeah.
Did
you have siblings growing up?
Nope.
So it was just
no siblings. Yeah, I was the third try, and they didn't know if I would make it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, they were thrilled they got me. So
sure.
I was lucky and cursed. I mean, I think in one way, you end up being a little more selfish, but you learn to be plenty resilient when you've got nobody else to help you or blame anything on or any of that, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, I'm still selfish, and I have 2 siblings. So, yeah. So it's technically more than 30 years you've been around. Since you could walk, you were around the business.
That's when I started getting taxed.
Yeah.
Dad taught me that early, but I mean, I remember we helped build a master plan city near here, Peachtree City. We worked on the city for 33 years.
I was looking at it on the map last night.
Yeah,
it's just out there.
Yeah.
It's
a cool place. Anyway, so we're laying this big outfall trunk sewer, and Dad puts me on a Cat 245 in a guy's lap, and I'm digging and beating on shot rock at 4 years old, with guys in the hole.
Yeah.
And ironically, the guy in the hole that day, his name was Rocky. He's long since passed. Rocky and his brother, who still work for us, taught me everything I know about how to lay pipe.
That's amazing.
So it's really interesting. The journey I've been on, all these men and women that taught me, they all kind of represent one of our core values. And if you're spiritual, they represent a fruit of the spirit, each one of them individually. And you find in construction, there's this lineage. Any place that's been around for a while, you can trace it back just like an NFL coaching tree. There was somebody 2 or 3 generations ago that taught something in a certain way, and it still lives on today if you've had the right culture and the right people,
Well, what I was talking about, Mark, too, at the multi-generational business is that it's the multi-generational business is very interesting because I feel like as you build a business, it teaches you a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
If you come into a business decades into its existence, I feel like you're playing catch up in some regards.
Yeah. Because
you haven't got, for lack of a better term, the shit beat out of you by building the business, getting it to that point.
Yeah.
And he made an interesting point where it's like you can get some of that from the previous generation, your dad or whoever you're taking over from, but you can't get everything from them because the success of the business also depends upon you doing some things differently. So you have to get it from other people too.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you got it from all sorts of people within the business.
I did. Yeah, I did. And a lot of good peers in the industry too. I mean,
sure.
At some point, that's the fun thing when you get where I'm at. Who do you go talk to sometimes? I mean, there's a couple out there, but you at a certain point, you got to go find somebody that's already been there and done it. In one case, or you need somebody, like up here in the middle of it right now,
Yeah.
and that's,
Yeah. But you start to get a little bit bigger and now you're a threat. Even when you're not a threat, you're perceived as a threat. So I've been, I was talking to somebody about that last night. I was like, most doors are open to me right now.
yeah,
I'm going to walk through them. I'm going to walk through as many as I can right now because I know at some point, some of those doors are going to shut once I'm perceived as a threat or I'm older. Like that's the benefit of being young. And I think that's a big reason why I've been able to do what I do is like, I'm not very tall. I'm not very imposing. I can't grow facial hair. I look like I'm somebody's kid.
Yeah.
And so and that's not the only reason, but I think that's actually really helped me. Like if I was 6'5" with a beard and a sleeve and look like I'm 43, I would have a much harder problem, I think.
Yeah, no. And I mean, the other thing too, you'll find, and I'm sure you're already there, you make your connections, you grow. Some of those connections change, and some of them is you hand keys off your key ring and give responsibilities to other people, within your organization. They're now the ones that have got to go be your mouthpiece, ambassador, and representative.
Yeah.
For whatever and whoever you are, and it's now their Rolodex per se, for lack of a better term.
Sure. When did the business transition from your dad to you?
We ran it together during the great financial crisis, and then coming out of it in 2011, or actually 2012, we started having talks about changing ownership structure. I'd over time had taken on more and more ownership, but I became majority owner, I think right at the end of 2012.
Okay.
And we pretty much swapped roles day to day then. He became CEO, I became president. And then I bought him completely out 3 or 4 years ago now.
How did you guys work together?
Well, I mean, I couldn't ask for a better mentor, a better teacher. He was far more patient than me. I think if we had been kind of the same personality type, it would have been harder.
Yeah.
I'm probably a lot more like his dad was from the stories I've been told. His dad passed when I was about 6, so never got to see some of the sides of him that I've been told about. But Dad taught me how to be a great servant leader and be humble, and that was in the recession. We had a hard time just because we're having to lay people off. And I remember I'd been squabbling with him, and there was one day I came in, I said, "Hey man," I said, "I was completely out of line. I'll never do that to you again, and I'll always back you." And since then, sure, we'll have a educated argument, but it won't be anything where you don't talk to one another or anything like that. That's just not us. We've never been that way. We're going to both stay at our sides, and then at the end of the day, 98% of the time, we ended up reaching the same conclusion. It got to be as we grew, and when I got married and, we're blessed with 2 stepsons, I went from nobody in the house to a whole lot in the house.
Yeah.
He was coming back from his winter vacation. I said, "Hey man, for lack of a better term, I can't regurgitate my day to you anymore." And out of respect, I've been running everything by you, but I just can't. I'm getting older. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't want to work 85, 95 hours a week anymore right now. It's just not good. And I'm in a different season in life, and he totally understood it. It's a change, but you can't keep up with everything. When we got to about 400 folks, I couldn't keep up with everything day to day. I mean, you just can't. You just can't. I was like, "Bud, we have a team." So it's a very different story when I had to say, "Go talk to this guy," rather than coming to me for a lot of the answers. At any rate.
Yeah, we've got about 50, and it's already off on its own. I don't have my hands around a lot of what we do, but that's okay at the same time, because those we have, I completely trust them. You do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're the subject matter expert. I'll be here if you need support, but I can't keep up.
No, it's just, you gotta really go knight your people and let them go represent you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Your dad is still around quite a bit.
he is. Yeah. He was actually here today.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought I saw him walk in. Yeah. I saw him the last time I was here.
Yeah.
Which I think is the last time I saw you, when we slept in the back.
That's probably the last time. Yeah. When y'all did the road show.
Yeah. Yeah. This was the very first place we slept in the RV. And just, it began 6 weeks of complete nonsense that I won't do again. But what does he do nowadays? Whatever he wants to do.
That's what when everybody asks me, I was like, he does what he wants.
Yeah.
He's part-time project managing our new building up front for our project managers and estimators. Yeah, that 3-story building.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're out of room on the campus.
Yeah.
So and need some more places to go. We got guys shoved in office trailers and rental buildings and all kinds of places, and we need more places than we have. So
he was pretty good at, as you guys transition the business, backing off. Hey, these are your decisions to make now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm here to support you, but I don't have anything to do with it.
Yeah. He'll want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And he'll ask everybody else to, hey, what are you doing and all that. That's okay. Like, he's just doing it from a point of care, and he wants to be involved. He helped grow it, and really birthed it into what it is. So, he gave me a great springboard and opportunity, because it was almost like starting over out of the recession. I had a good nucleus, but man, it was a hard time for 5 years for us. So.
Yeah. So in that period of time, were you guys primarily in, I'm assuming, private work?
Yeah.
Development related work?
Yeah. When 2008 struck, we probably had 85% of our guys on a subdivision site development, and 15% of our work was either rail or public pipeline. And that's really all we had to go live on. And we had a bunch of developers bankrupt on us. And so we ended up paying our suppliers 100 cents on the dollar out of our assets. Tried to keep as many guys as we could, but we laid off the majority of the company. We had 355 people in 2008. By spring of 2011, we had 45.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so it really was.
And destroyed about 40 years worth of equity.
That's extraordinary.
We were bidding 80 to 100 jobs to get one job.
Really?
No, I'm not kidding, because I was bidding.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
It was that competitive. Because when the market dries up, then everybody's bidding everything. Yeah,
no, I would get in the truck and I would ride this loop from Huntsville up through Tennessee over to Raleigh, back down the coast through Savannah, and come home.
Smokes.
And I'd look at everything I could, and I'd sit down. I FedExed, I don't know how many bids. And I'd get suppliers or other subs that we knew in the area. Hey, will you please call me with bid opening results? I couldn't get to all of them.
Yeah.
Mom took bids. We had all kinds of people. I had, our chief mechanic, our dispatcher. I mean, everybody did everything for a while.
Wow.
Was
weathering the storm always the intention, or was it like, this is just too much at any point in time?
Oh no, we got to a point where we sat down. I was actually working for C.W. Matthews at the airport on a job, and we were losing money on everything we were doing. Trey Bradbury, that works for us, he unfortunately fell in a boring pit, got paralyzed. My mom got breast cancer.
Jeez.
All at the same time. So like the sky really, it felt like it fell for our family.
Yeah.
And we were, spring of 2011, we closed our books at the time, March 31st, and we're looking at the financials with the CPAs, and it's like, boy, we really want to keep going, because if this continues, I knew I could probably start over and go work for somebody else.
Yeah.
But my dad, man, he's got to have something left. And we had an honest discussion, like, are we going to keep going or not? And we landed a big sewer line nearby and did a job with Phillips and Jordan up in Memphis for our mutual client, Norfolk Southern, built a big intermodal yard, and really just steadily started climbing out of the hole then. But it was, it was at the point, if we messed up one more work cycle, man, my dad was going to have nothing.
Yeah.
And I had to make good and sure that didn't happen.
It's, I think two people outside of business don't quite understand. It's like, just because you have a contract or something like that, that really doesn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. like a developer can just say, we're actually not going to start on this.
Oh,
They can pause projects. Something outside of their control can shut them down. They can go bankrupt.
Yeah.
And you can still be owed stuff, but the recourse is limited. And even if you have the ability to go collect on something, it's years away sometimes.
It is, or your pennies on the dollar. We chaired the unsecured debtors committee for the oldest publicly traded home builder, Levitt and Sons, and we ended up with less than 5 cents on the dollar. And all I learned is from all the legal correspondence, our controller had this giant stack of paper that we kept, and it was all the bills and the legal correspondence for the bankruptcy committee. And it was $1 million for about every inch and a half. Is what the attorneys got paid. They're the only ones. They had a bonanza with that whole period. But
my father, he's a lawyer that specializes in bankruptcy.
Okay.
So my best friend's mom's a bankruptcy trustee. So I got to hear about it on the other end at the dinner table. Sure.
But it's a different feeling. I mean, the way I've always looked at it is whoever you employ, multiply that by 3 or 4 for dependents. And, it hurts going through stuff like that. I laid off a guy that he went home and shot his wife and shot himself. And that's the kind of stuff, like, I knew he had money problems when I let him go, but I didn't have any work for him either. But you feel like it's your fault.
100%.
And toted that around a long time. That's for us, that's always my pitch. Like, man, I'm going to try as hard as I can every day. I'm not perfect. And, I won't treat you like a human being and not holler at you. Sure, I'm going to ask you to do your job. Like, you got to hear some of that in the hallway earlier. But, there's nothing wrong with asking somebody to do their job once you set some standards, too. It's all how you go about it and conduct it,
So what, how did you all rebuild the business at that point? I know it's one job at a time, but what were some of the lessons learned from that period that you've used to rebuild?
Well, as I ran around all over the Southeast, I made a couple promises to myself. I said, one, I don't want to ever go through this ever again. And I wanted to understand why it happened. So economics became my part-time hobby. The other thing was, I really became a saying to myself. I said, I'm going to hone my sword every day. And what that means to me is I'm going to get better at my craft every day. Good or bad, I'm going to make hard decisions, all based around I'm going to spend every day trying to make us stronger. But I wanted to try and do it as best as to my ability to the right way and still uphold the family standard, some moral standards, and really try and do it from a relationally based, really principles over profits mentality. Like, look, do all the right things. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Do it for a fair price, one time. Be a good communicator, good or bad.
Yeah.
And the other thing I promised to myself was, hey, I got to go diversify our book of business. I've got to go find clientele that probably won't go bankrupt on a whim. Sure, there's always going to be subdivision site work that's good money. It's profitable. We've got long-time relationships. Sure, we're always going to do some of that work. But, I should probably try and work for some power companies, do more rail work for some industrial property developers. And we set about trying to do that coming out of the great financial crisis, rehired some people, hired a business development director, really made an intentional push to try and sell who we were, sell ourselves as best value. And as we did that, we figured out, we were primarily a pipe company then. And we figured out if we didn't matter if we brought the best team to the table, if we didn't control the earthwork ourselves, we probably weren't going to get the work. So we spent a year bidding internally. And then when we were ready, we started doing the work ourselves.
So when you say bidding internally, do you mean bidding jobs that have already been bid? Don't look at the answers yet. Bid the job, compare?
Not as much that. No, we were just bidding the earthwork ourselves.
Okay.
At the time, but we weren't telling anybody in the industry what we were doing then.
I see.
At all.
I see.
We were just steadily building backlog because I'd had guys that had either done or bid that work other places.
Okay.
And what we found when we started doing that on our own and grew pretty rapidly, we had allies at other places that then wanted to come work with us. And we had some old clientele that was willing to give us work. They didn't want to split up contract scopes anymore. They wanted one contractor to do the site work, and picked up a bunch of new clientele. But we were always really intentional about chasing our clientele where we wanted to be. And I mean, it's a business development effort, and then you better go follow through on what you promised.
Just following through and keeping your word is something that's so straightforward, but actually quite rare. The further I've gone in business,
it's a hard balance. You're always in this tension between, you do have to be profitable. Yeah, you're a for-profit business, but you know what? Not everybody understands that works with you or deals with you in business is, in the world of corporate banking. And you better be profitable to a certain extent, or they can call you loans due or anything like that. So there's a certain point to be prudent for the business. You have to have a good basis to work off of. So you do. You have to be profitable, but man, you really have to lead from the top down and really back your people. Like, look, you better mean it when you say, do the right thing and I'll back you, and have a good reason behind it. We may lose a pile of money, or we may have to clean up some stuff and lose a pile of money. And you're going to have to let some folks fail for a minute too, to get some long range success. So, I mean, it's hard, and it's really hard to do if you're publicly traded, possibly owned by private equity, and you've got a timetable to generate a return. That it's a lot easier for me because, hey, I don't have anybody I have to report to.
You can't put the pipe in the ground. Your contract, your schedule's blown out.
Yeah.
You can still lose a ton of money when it's not even your quote unquote fault. No,
and I mean, even then we were always extremely fortunate. We were working behind some of the best people in the business anywhere in the country. I mean, and there's 4 or 5, 6 folks in Atlanta that are very capable, very upstanding, great at what they do.
There's some big contractors down here.
Yeah. Compete against them every day. I mean, and that's, you never show up and like slander your competition either. It's like, look, man, they've got folks over there that are as good as us. My pitch is, I'm going to tell you what it's going to cost up front one time. And that you're not going to get every client that way. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. If you sit down, I found when I'm in front of new clients and we're pitching them, I'm going to interview them just as much as they're interviewing me. And typically, we're going to say, look, we're going to get out of the truck. We're not going to step foot out of the truck and fight. That's not us. That's never going to be us. And, we expect to have some common courtesy, get treated forthright, act like human beings. We do all these things. Great. We also expect that out of you. And if usually you get a good reaction, if you do, those are the folks you want to do business with. If you don't, that's probably your red flag to say, all right, this might be a one and done right here.
Yeah. Which is, and it again, it sounds simple, and it's probably easier to walk away when everything's good. But when you need work, it gets a lot more challenging.
It gets a lot harder. I mean, you're giving your equity and your livelihood back to stand behind those principles. I mean, it's like you make a real conscious effort to do it. And it came better for me because I had a great teacher and a great leader that I was watching do it with him at the same time. Like, if you didn't have that, and that'd be a lot harder thing to do. I know.
Yeah. You said you started studying economics.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things to learn about is how the world works.
Yeah.
I love it. And most people have not a clue how things work. I didn't have a clue how things work. I still don't. But I've learned, every time I learn a little bit more, it's like, wow, this is wild. And so I understand why most people don't understand it, because it's complicated. Two, they have enough going on in their lives. But when you're in charge of, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, which then support hundreds and thousands of people, and then subcontractors and then customers, etc., you can't afford to put your head in the sand and just be at the whim of the economy.
No.
How has what have you seen over the past few years, and what are you thinking about going forward? Because it's been a wild 5 years from an economic standpoint.
I feel like our country, us as Americans, we don't look at history like we should.
No.
We're very much, our world we lived in and the stability it's provided us really got born out of complete calamity.
Yeah.
You think about the whole New Deal era, the Works Progress Administration, the fact that post-World War II or coming out of the World War, we had the Bretton Woods Agreement where we agreed to trade all things in U.S. dollars.
Yeah.
That would never happen, ever. And again, but it took absolute disaster for it to happen before.
Yeah.
And if we don't value it anymore, and we don't value rule of law as a Western world, and we're not willing to come together as a Western world, at some point, we can't predict what it is, but we're going to have a hard time.
Yeah.
And all the while, you have a decline in birth rate worldwide in the Western world. I mean, eventually, in one frame, it's going to impact our industry. On the other idea, all these things that are causing instability in the world also are causing some reshoring of manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
We need new infrastructure, additional infrastructure, whatever it may be. Construction will be a benefactor from it long run. But, societally, all these other things we deal with in the workforce right now, it's going to be a lot of challenges, and we need strong leadership that we don't have.
Yeah.
I just feel like we're going to be going into, a 10, 15, 20-year period that may be not quite as kind to us as it's been societally.
Tumultuous.
We're going to deal with a lot of change. Yeah, tumultuous is the best way to say it.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it until a few years before.
Yeah.
But post World War II created globalization.
Yeah.
And that wasn't that long ago.
No.
In the grand scheme of things, if you put everything on a timeline, like 80 years ago, not that long ago.
Yeah.
And I always assumed, I'm almost 30 years old, born in the mid-90s. I always assumed the globalization, U.S. dollar being the reserve currency, so on and so forth, growth, that is just the constant.
Yeah.
And then,
it may not
I start to look into it, it's like, hey, there is no guarantee of this going forward.
No. And that's, I met the CFO of one of the largest banks in the U.S. here recently. And anytime I get time with somebody like that, they're always looking at it in a very macro perspective that I'm never going to get.
Yeah.
So I ask the same question. Man, rub your crystal ball and tell me what you see in 5 years. And typically the stock answer is, well, we don't project that far.
Yeah, sure.
Now,
Yeah.
what do you really think? What bothers you? And one of those things was, if the country continues to deficit spend, at some point there will be a crisis of confidence in the U.S. dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, and when and if we're not the reserve currency, nobody can tell you what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
but what's driving me nuts is that's being accelerated artificially through sanctions, and through sanctioning Russia and Iran and some others that we don't really need to sanction. And we've been sanctioning Russia for years, and their economy's stronger as a result because they've become a war economy again. And we've shown our hand, and then China and Russia and Saudi Arabia and Brazil and others are like, well, wait a minute, there's an opportunity here.
No,
and I don't blame them because, potentially.
Yeah, we don't have any buddies anymore.
No,
in the world, and that's the expectation with NATO and all these things is we're allied and aligned as a Western world where we're really not anymore, and that's we'll see how that plays out over the next 15 years. I'm sure,
but I think, like you said, I do think construction will be a benefactor.
I do too,
because we're going to have to make more stuff here. I think
we do, and you can't predict what's coming, whether it's some black swan event or whatever it is. You just need to be shrewd enough to be able to call the right audible to pivot where you need to pivot to, because there's just whatever happens, we'll be due for something that we can't foresee, a la great financial crisis kind of thing.
Yeah.
Something like that will happen again. It always does. And, for us, learning from what we did last time, I've got 6 or 7 lines of business now.
How do you balance, though, between a potential, whatever happens in the future versus like something that I've been watching, because I'm kind of in the stands in some ways, these, especially in the Southeast, these monster projects that did not exist 5 years ago, that have never really existed, that are all spurred, made possible by federal and state spending.
Yep.
That require crazy amounts of equipment, manpower, materials. And so you have to make hay while the sun's shining. I understand that. Completely get it. These monster projects, like, they make perfect sense. Like, why wouldn't I go do it? But then at the same time, scaling up to accommodate them is putting yourself in a really risky position.
We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
The phrase I use, the hangover is worse than the high.
Yeah.
Because, you're going to leave all your clientele behind to go do one thing that is not sustainable.
Uh-huh.
I saw plenty of folks not live through the last downturn because of that. And the thing to me is, I told our guys really almost 18 months ago, we sat down and laid out our vision and our plan to 2030. And I said, one of them was growth through partnership.
Mm-hmm.
We got to go do some of this work together. Part of why, we were blessed that C.W. Matthews, Dan Garcia was kind enough to call Anthony Garcia at Landmark. And after a conversation of saying, hey, I can't come help you, but these guys maybe could. We're out there working with them at Scout Motors.
Really?
And it's awesome.
It came through Dan, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how it came. And it came based off of reputation and previous work. And like, we know one another, but not all that well.
Yeah.
But, it's a great example of, reputation, competency, plenty of good track record. That gets you work more times than you'd ever imagine.
Yeah.
And from places that you never expected. I mean, never say never, and don't burn many bridges. Like, you got to burn a bridge, you better be ready for the consequences, and they're long lasting and far reaching typically.
Yeah. I'm grateful to not have much of a temper.
Yeah.
I don't get very emotional, and I don't get angry.
Yeah.
And I've wanted to say some things. And I have said some things at times, but I've avoided that for the most part. And then it's come back around a few years later, and it's just like, oh, this could have been a way different outcome had I opened my mouth a few years ago.
It happens to the best of us. I mean, you'll be in the position at one moment you need grace, and you're going to be in the position at some point you're the one that's got the power. But man, you always got to remember, I could be that person across the table.
Yeah,
and I better treat somebody right and not just demean them or be overly hard on them or anything like that. Because at some point, I'm not perfect, neither are they. Let's just get past whatever the issue is.
Well, I've seen a lot of people, I think I just talked about this with Randy the other day, a lot of times they get caught up in proving they're right too.
Yeah.
And even when they've been wronged and they are right, they get consumed by proving that they're right, which can become very expensive in all sorts of ways.
Yeah, and that's like, most really good leaders will tell you, you're not too arrogant to learn from somebody else. You don't know everything. And, there's plenty of folks in business that have said this in one way or another. Like, you need to find the people that really make up for your weaknesses, acknowledge your weaknesses, and acknowledge that, you can make a mistake and own it and go on. It's not worth, all you're doing is damaging yourself and causing yourself stress. Because, man, those lawyers, they'll take those dollars all day long and smile because all you're doing is making that jet payment for them.
Yeah. And
that's what you do.
They're really friendly. And
There's somebody that's on a billboard in every city.
Together.
Yeah, and it's from stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The further I get into business and the more I'm around law, the less I like it. But it's a necessary evil at the same time.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, through partnerships, that's a good way to do things. You can have a bite at the apple, but you're not grabbing the whole apple.
Exactly.
I guess is the best way to put it. I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got to be willing to take your share of the pie and be happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if somebody seems like they're getting more recognition on the job or whatever. Hey, be a part of it, because you're still building something fantastic for us as citizens, state citizens, U.S. and societal citizens. And the other thing is, you're furthering your business interests at the end of the day. All you're doing is making contacts and opening doors, either for maybe a future employee, an engineer and ally or contact, or you're helping grow somebody that maybe 3 or 4 rungs down the ladder from you that's watching how you're acting on the job. Like, hey, at some point, we're at the other end of our career where the folks that maybe were in the job trailer in the corner 30 years ago, they're now determining whether we have credit capability, we're getting a job, we're credible. All they may remember is the asshole you were 30 years ago in the trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth of it. You never know who you're going to meet.
Well, I've just started to wade into those waters a little bit.
Yeah. You're seen in a stature far higher than you see yourself. That's like, as you get older, you're going to figure and you see it because you've been all over the world now. Like, you're looked at as here by a lot of people, and you look at yourself down here, and that's, can't really do anything to change that. Just be who you are.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But just being a good individual, again, it's like, I don't know. I do think I gravitate to civil construction because it's self-perform. I think self-perform generates this level of humility within ownership and within the workforce that I don't see in very many other places in society.
Yeah.
And so I encounter people that are less than savory often, but very rarely within this world.
Yeah.
Very rarely within civil construction, earth moving, pipe, which I really love. That's why I love this world.
Yeah. We all like to help. We all like to help charitable causes, other people. I mean, you learn, if you grew up in this world, you're no better than anybody else, and you never will be.
Yeah.
And most people always remember that We all came from somewhere, and your hope is you can provide a good life and help other people better themselves while you're enjoying what you do, and you hope you can leave something behind for somebody else to embrace that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, it's fun. We've been able to bring in a lot of people from outside of this world into this world. And then once they find the dirt world, they don't want to leave because it really is different. It is completely different.
Oh man, all my best friends that are working in big tech. I mean, we're all 40 to 50, me and my friends, and they're at the point where they're seeing the other side of tech is now a mature business, and they're having mature business issues. There's not this infinite growth platform for a lot of them, and we're talking about workforce development, leadership training, and we did a company service day last year, and they're all like, man, we want to come work in this business. I'm like, we need data analysts now. We need all these things we didn't need before. So, man, you might find a great fit. Like, we need all your talent, all your experience, and you'll find a good environment, I think, that's not this, shareholder value mentality.
Going to workforce, what in the news right now is immigration for 100 different reasons.
Yeah.
What role do you think immigration plays in growing the workforce for the industry?
It's huge. I mean, it's not just for our industry, for our entire country and society. Like, we don't fix the lack of household formation happening until we're a lot older now, birth rate issues or any of that, and economic productivity issues is a macro issue unless we fix immigration and embrace it.
Yeah.
And at some point, there should be an easier path to get it done. It's sure, like, experiencing it with my guys, it's not easy. And there should be more of a streamlined process, especially now you've got people here for their second generation and not far, starting their third generation.
Yeah.
Here, and there's plenty of families that in other places in the world that are not as fortunate as us that want to be here.
Yeah.
We should let them be good citizens here. There should be a way you should be able to, as an employer, vouch for your person with an affidavit, and, sponsor them, do something,
There's, in this market, there's quite a bit of immigrant labor, I think, isn't there?
Yeah. Yep.
Mostly Hispanic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you guys probably have a lot of Hispanic folks working for you?
We do, yeah. That's the majority of the guys I grew up with.
Yeah.
One of the guy I went to the funeral viewing for today, I mean, he's part of a core group of probably 35 or 40 guys that I grew up with that have been here 20 to 30 years, somewhere in that range. And, hey man, they're what you want in your country and in your society. I mean, they're salt of the earth, really good family people that care about everybody they meet in the world and work hard and humble. I mean, it's everything you hope your kids or your family members turn out to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I came up in Arizona, so almost every single pipe crew in the state is Hispanic, mostly Mexican, some Guatemalan.
Yep.
I'm from El Salvador, Colombia, Venezuela. I mean, they're from all over, but mostly Mexican in Arizona.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously I'm having fun now, but outside of BuildWit, I never had more fun working than with those guys.
They're awesome because, I mean, as long as you cut up, get out of the car and talk to them and try and have a good time with them and just get out there and work, man, it's awesome. Not a better cultural philosophy than, like, they're going to give you a good hard day's work. They're going to work with you. They're going to try and help you. And, you can't say that for everybody else you meet in life. And that was kind of what I found the cultural norm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, there was a video I saw on the internet that was just, I was losing it when I was looking at this because it's so true. It's like, it was like white boy lunch, and it was like hey Jared, what's for lunch? And it's like a piece of ham and like 2 pieces of white bread. And he's a construction worker, I think. And then he's like, Juan, what's for lunch? And he's like, oh, today we've got tacos and like
they're gonna be cooking.
He has it all laid out and everything.
God, yeah.
Every day is like this whole different like. And then he goes back to the white guy, and it's like, you know, a Hot Pocket or something like that. And then he goes back to the Mexican guy, and he's got all different kinds of burritos. And it's like, that's exactly it. They eat so good.
They do, and man, you know, we learned how to cook on anything. I mean, I cooked on a diamond saw blade with some bricks up under it and the fire up under it. They were cooking tortillas on a 55-gallon drum top that didn't have the paint stripped off it. And I don't know what was in the top.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, but hey, it tasted good. I ate chicken out of asphalt one day. You know, I had guys cooking chicken in some hot asphalt one day. I mean, I learned all kinds of stuff. And man, that, you know, that whole culture of, hey, like, here, take what's mine, experience it with me. And that's the coolest thing in the world to me.
Well, and that was like the top comment was like, well, like, but the difference is the Hispanic guy will always share with you.
Yes.
They will always give you some, and they were having their wives make me food and bringing me extra. And they were just like, they were inviting me to their kids' birthday parties.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, what is this? This is like nothing else I've been around.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's this decoupling we've had of society. I mean, you know, we've got to find new ways to go bond, and we've got to be intentional and purposeful about it. You know, and that's in our industry, you're seeing it borne out in, you know, training and workforce development. You know, it's really, you know, you're having to try and replace what should have been taught in the home. And, you know, it's like I phrased it to my guys starting out. I'm like, some days you may feel like you're part parent and part employer and part boss. But, you know, people are still people. I mean, 8 to 88 years old, they're still the same. You know, they want to be treated well for what they do. You want to have some financial stability. You want to be talked to and treated, you know, like a human being, and really be able to live life kind of on your own means from making a living. Hey, if you want to live in RV, great. If you want to travel a bunch, have boats, you know, whatever, save for college, pay for your kids' sporting events, you're really just looking to be able to live a good life. And that doesn't change. Like, and it's still getting back to that and getting people to really believe, hey, one, they can have that life. That's the other issue I see when we hire our younger men and women, man. They don't have any hope they're ever going to own or be a part of anything, you know, and it's just trying to rekindle that and say, hey, look, it's up to you. Your ambition and your drive will totally take you to the top of the top ranks in construction. And there's not many other places you can ever achieve that, you know.
Workforce is very complex. I think people make it way too black and white. There's nothing black and white about it.
No.
I think I am very pro-immigration, especially growing up in Arizona.
Yeah.
I've seen the benefits of it.
Yeah.
But I also very much question the thought that is going to make up for our birth rate long term, because mathematically it can't, because immigrants get old too. And their birth rate declines as well. And then now you have a greater population that's declining at some point in time. So it's kind of kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, self-servingly, it won't be our problem.
It's not your problem.
It's not my kids and their kids' problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, it's a much bigger macro issue.
Like Social Security.
Yeah.
It's like, we know this is so broken and so unsustainable, but there's just no way we can get rid of it. Am I going to see anything from Social Security? I bet everything I have that I will not see anything from it, but it's going to have to break to get to that point.
Yeah. It takes absolute catastrophe for anything to get fixed when you're an adult. It doesn't matter if you're an alcoholic or you're a gambling addict or whatever. It takes like hitting rock effing bottom before anything changes. Typically,
I've seen that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think most people have.
Yeah.
I think though, my dumb prediction is that the U.S. economy at some point will have to retool itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've gone way too far in the knowledge economy direction.
Yep.
And we have to pull back a little bit and produce more at a certain point, just because the knowledge economy, consume more. It's just not, it doesn't pencil out. It doesn't math at a certain point. Fortunately, we are one of the most rich countries in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We're one of the most impregnable countries in the world, just geographically.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a really good position.
Yep.
We can grow the food we need,
Mm-hmm.
drill the oil we need. There's a lot of stuff we can do that most other countries can't, which is remarkably lucky. It's just
Yep.
dumb luck that I'm here, that we're all here. But I think in that retooling, there's going to be some jobs. And so I think COVID was the first look into what jobs are essential and what aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an argument to say, well, all jobs are essential. And that's true, but it's also not. I think there's a lot of jobs that are completely made up in the grand scheme of things. That's just people trading paper. And people, like, I used to think, because the school I grew up at, everybody's dad was somebody. Everybody was really highly accomplished, and they were all people who built stuff. So I just assumed that if someone has a lot of money and success in that category, they've built things. They've made a difference in the world. They've changed the world in a material sense.
Yeah, that's what you hope.
That's completely not true.
Yeah.
That is so false.
Yeah.
And there are so many people living in this fairy tale land. But my point is here, I think there's a lot of people in these oftentimes miserable careers,
Mm-hmm.
creating no value in the world.
Yeah.
That could be better off in a place like this.
Yeah. Like one of my best friends did search engine optimization work for years. And it was just like, he's worked for a variety of, you name it, big advertisement or headhunting companies. It's you're not really making anything.
No.
You're at the search engine's whim as to if you're successful or not. Yeah, you got your educated guess at what makes things tick, but are you really adding anything for society? No. And I think we're 3 or 4 or 5 generations into now some of the things that have made a modern life happen. Got a great sanitation system.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a stable water supply. We've had a stable grid. All these things that folks think are right, that we had to make a lot of effort and spend a lot of our dollars to go build at some point. And, the fact that everyone thinks they're right and easily replaceable is far from the truth. The
Mm-hmm.
folks in North Carolina and now California are probably about to figure that out. Like,
yeah,
I feel, I feel for some of the folks that are, running those water departments, or have been fighting those firefights right now. The folks in the Palisades, they don't understand, like, there's no way you can plan to go fight a wildfire with a municipal water system in a highly concentrated population base.
Yeah.
Everybody just thinks, man, you turn on that spigot and that's just
it'll just be
an
indefinite.
Unlimited supply and indefinite, no pressure loss, none of that. And any of us in our business are like, man, no way you can go fight that thing. It's not possible.
And I do find, but that I think is an example of how people are disconnected from how their lives really work. Is like the criticism of the fires I've seen and the water. It's just like, they clearly don't understand how water gets to their house. Like they don't have a clue what they're talking about right now.
They don't have a clue. And yes, you could probably do something where you could fight it, but it would cost us trillions of dollars on the off chance it might happen. It hadn't happened ever before. So, you're not going to spend that amount of dollars, in something like that. But, I think more and more as you see, these big hurricanes come through and wreck things and, something's happening, whether you believe in climate change or not.
Uh-huh.
Something's happening.
Yeah.
it ain't normal.
Yeah.
You've been all over the world, especially if you come from anywhere that's you ever been to an Arctic environment or anywhere in the Rockies or anything like that, man. Snow season's not quite as long. Snowpack's not as big most years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
but
something's happening.
But at the same time, this is the first time in world history that the world has been this developed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like a hurricane is not problematic out in the middle of the ocean.
No,
like it's or a fire is not like fire is not bad. Like we're like fire is bad. It's like no. It's there for a reason. It's a very natural thing, but it's bad when it rolls through the Palisades in California because it burns up everybody's homes.
Yeah,
but it's like those homes haven't been there
that long
for that
long.
That long.
No, and that's you think about it in a longer scale. I mean, what's our birth rate or what's our average lifespan done in the last 150 years? It's done nothing but this. Like never happened in the history of the world.
Well, even world population. You look at it over the past 100 years. It's like wow.
Yeah, there's a shadow side to every shiny side of the coin. And, we may experience some of that now. It's natural. That doesn't mean it's going to be fun to go through.
But I need to figure out how to phrase this. I've become fixated on natural disasters because everybody gets fixated on them when they occur, but then everybody loses sight of what happens after. And with the fires, for example, I've already talked to contractors out there that are looking at the work while things are smoldering. Or with the hurricanes, and we'll go to this side of the country, the hurricanes in North Carolina, the fire department, police department, the military even, they're only as good as the roads. If the roads are all covered up in trees, they can't get anywhere. So it's the contractors out there with equipment clearing the roads while the floodwaters are still raging to rescue people even. And then it's the contractors that clean up the mess, and then it's the contractors that rebuild. Alongside the community and the state agencies and the police departments, et cetera. It's everybody, but it really is this industry. Like it proves how essential what a Strack, a CW Matthews, a Landmark, whoever does. Mm-hmm. Because while it doesn't appear that essential day to day, because around you society's functioning, when it doesn't, who do they call? They don't call the fire department. The fire department can't get them water again. It's the contractor, the guy in the ditch. Mm-hmm. It's really it's incredible to think about.
Yeah, and those are those folks in North Carolina. Like it's a good example of the public at some point all over the U.S. I mean, at some point we'll all be impacted by something like this, and when the first thing I thought about when I saw just the devastation is like, it's going to take decades. Mm-hmm. And, there's whole water transmission mains that are gone. There are treatment plants that are inoperable. And, the members of the public, they just simply don't understand and have never been educated in the fact that we just don't go get VFDs and pumps and miles of ductile iron pipe. Like that just doesn't sit anywhere. That takes years, like years to get done. And all those environmental laws and regs and all that stuff, you got to throw all that out the window for a minute. Like if you want things to go function, that dirt's going in that river.
Yep.
Like that's how it got built years ago. And there's a lot of things that people are going to have to be willing to accept when those moments happen. And, our hope is, we're spending more and more time in front of schools. Next week we're doing a day that's really a workforce exposure day for one of the local school systems. And they're going to cycle every 8th grader through, and they're going to see contracting and engineering as one module, and healthcare, and
that's pretty cool.
Water and sewer and power departments as another piece, and just trying to expose eighth graders to, hey, there's all these other industries. I mean, everybody knows. I mean, it doesn't matter if I talk to my doctors or my bankers or my accountants, like everything I hear from everybody is there's not enough good, willing young talent coming in any field right now.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm super optimistic too, because for the first time ever, college enrollment has declined in the United States. Because I think 2020 pulled the mask off the boogeyman in a lot of ways. And I think the colleges really overplayed their hand by making everything online and saying, but pay us even more for it. We're not by no means going to maintain the quality. We're going to require you to jump through all these hoops, and you pay us more money for a worse education with none of the social benefits of college. Then I think a lot of people, rightly so, started to ask, well, wait a minute. Hold on here. And I think people get too caught up in the college, no college. I think the dirt world, construction industry, a great place for people with a college degree, a great place for people without a college degree.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have a degree or not. I don't think it really matters one way or the other. But I think that also, it does help us because rather than that being the sole direction for a majority of kids in the United States now.
Oh, yeah.
The question is certainly being asked if there's another alternative beyond the U.S. military.
Yeah, and if it, watching my kids and some of our coworkers' kids who are now, graduating high school, going out in the workforce or college, I mean, you got a really smart group of people. They may be smart in different ways than we were.
Yeah.
But they're also plenty smart enough to be skeptical to know, hey, I may not want to go work for that ABC publicly traded company or that multinational private equity backed thing that demands more and more of my life, essentially. And that's always, my pitch to somebody is, look, you're coming to physically give me a slice of your life in exchange for a good place to work, good pay, but you are spending physical minutes of your life here. I need to make it worthwhile for you. I'm not perfect, but I promise, I'll try really hard and I'll give you a great environment. I'll treat you well. And man, my 13-year-old knows he's not going to get that going to work for a lot of the larger companies in the world
that have a mission of like creating shareholder value or something like that. Something really inspiring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We work for some of these people. So
I know you have to. Yeah.
I got to figure out a way to say this. But at the end of the day, I'm the same way. I mean, you got to have faith and have hope in your fellow man and woman that, hey man, we're going to figure this out some way, shape, or form. We have throughout human history. We'll figure this out too. But nobody's got an easy answer right now. So enjoy the ride and be part of it. Be part of the solution.
How do you, going to that school event, how do you show them what you all do?
The main thing for us, one, you've got to go somewhere and catch their eye. Part of why we have our training trailer with simulators in it. We have our prize wheel where you get somebody to come up and spin a wheel and get a prize or they've got to get on the simulator, earn a certain score, and then they can spin the wheel. And it's just talking to them. Like, real ironically, I got to go back to my middle school.
Wow.
About 4 or 5 weeks ago. And I was like stepping back in time. I stepped in this classroom I used to be in.
Yeah.
We wheeled 2 10-star simulators in there. And we probably got given the better kids in the grade, but it was cool nonetheless. And what I found, I didn't really know what I was going to find. Like, normally we're cycling through a lot of people and we're not in that intimate of an environment, or I haven't been myself, let's put it that way. And really, You just go to work like anything else, talk to the people just like anything else. No different than having a new hire, and really just praise them. Tell them what they're doing right. Tell them what they're doing good. Hey, don't do this. But, I told 3 young women, I said, man, y'all have like awesome spatial awareness. You do this way better than guys that have been doing this 35 years. And look, like, hey, if you're visually minded, and you might want to consider a career in engineering and construction, because you ladies will rule the world in our industry if you get in here and work hard, because there's all the opportunity in the world. You can go create your own future. So please consider us. And my hope is that moment, they may not remember me or what company I was with or anything else. Maybe they just remember our industry and everything connected as a whole and give it a shot. Like, somebody gave a damn enough to spend a little time with me and tell me I'm doing something right for a change. In a time in your life, you may be unsure of yourself. You may not have a good home life, whatever it may be. Like, just give effort every time you're around you young people. That's all you can do,
I think people, in a way, overcomplicate that, because I think oftentimes it really comes down to one great experience. If you talk to people about where they got into it, they'll typically cite one. I can cite one experience I had, but most people can. It was this. Yeah. That just, flipped the switch.
Here's the stuff you remember. Like, my dad, he started an apprenticeship program with the Georgia Utility Contractors Association when I was 15. And everything everyone remembers about the first session was him setting up a pipe laser and like shining it on the teacher's butt when she turned around, but you got people to laugh and like everybody loves to laugh. Like, it's very disarming. There's 2 things that are really disarming, 1, laughter, and 2, eating and sharing a meal. Yeah. Like, that's probably 2 of the best things you can do, if you've got somebody new that's just really nervous around you. Like, you know better than them. Just be you, be genuine, and try and care, about the moment you're spending with them. That's all you can do.
How, we're in the Southeast. So I think people are very skeptical and jaded in general, especially with employers. Yeah. I see all the comments online are always about how these big companies, they're trying to squeeze as much as they can out of people so that they can go just be super, super, super rich and do super, super, super rich people stuff. I know a ton of business owners in this industry now. It's not a very flashy crowd. Yeah. People have nice stuff. Yeah. But not for how much they have or could have, not really in the grand scheme of things. It's really not that flashy, pretty low key. But how do you, I think the Southeast is really interesting because the wages here are lower than just about anywhere else in the United States. Oh yeah. And just the South in general. Yeah. It's the entire South. Like, this market is better than Alabama and Mississippi and Louisiana. That's as low as it gets. South Carolina too. Yep. But then you go up in like the Northeast, and the wages will be like 3 times sometimes in certain situations. And it's union, and there's
it's also why things don't get built up there. It won't pencil economically. Yeah, but
I feel like people lose sight of that too. It's like,
there's a happy medium.
How do you reconcile that? Like the reality that we have to make money because all of this requires money to, like, most of the money you're making goes into the company. Yeah. It doesn't go into your checking account. So you have to make money, but then you want to pay people as well as you can. There's the economic realities, and then the desire to give your people what they deserve. Yeah. You have to be somewhere in the middle.
You do. I mean, it's a constant tension, and I always feel like in construction, particularly in our industry, our niche, we're always in arrears and recognizing that cost. Like, hey, we knew our excavators, haul trucks, dozers, compactors went up 30% nearly a year or two period. But man, it takes a long time to really get that to bear out at the bid table.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're really having a fight for those dollars, I feel like. And, you know, everybody I talk to feels like this. You know, you probably really make a little less than you think you should. Because one, it's just in our area, it's just really, really competitive.
Yeah.
You know, striking that balance between reinvestment, rewarding the business, capital expenditures. Like, hey, we would all love to run brand new stuff all the time. It's not feasible. Like, we got to be good stewards of what we're given to take care of, rebuild some of it, run some of it an applicably long life and support it well. And some of it, hey, turn some of it over pretty quick and put new pieces in the fleet. But you always need to take time and take moments throughout the year, one, to, you know, in our case, we're giving a lot back. You know, we're giving a pair of Wiley X sunglasses to everybody in the entire company every year, enough so we just became our own dealer.
Nice.
We give everybody a set of safety-toed boots every year. We give them a boot credit every year, and partnered with a local company that provides 60 different brands of boots.
Great.
We do corporate gift matching. We shut the entire company down and did a service day. We paid everybody in the middle of September on a weekday, probably the time of year we make our most money, and purposely shut it down, went 26 different places, and partnered with nonprofits. And I made it a point at one of the company meetings. We meet 3 times a year, the whole company. And I said, guys, look, we're paying you to come do this. This is not the day to be off. Don't be off. Like, please come be a part of this, because, you know, this is one of the parts of the core values. Like, we're going to live it. Like, we're giving them millions of dollars in revenue, and we're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in payroll. Like, this is important. And what you find when you do that, all these stories that bind us as a society and a company, like we went to this home, really, if you're I'd say a foster child, and it's nearby here. And one of my employees came up and he said, man, I never would have thought, he said, if I'd known we were going there, I would have gone. Cause he said, that's where I grew up.
Wow.
And like, it was just story after story after story. I mean, you're not that far separated in this world. And whatever you do, however you can influence in your sphere of influence, like, you may not be my position in the company. Do everything you can just to take a moment and say thank you and give a little back. And hey, even if you're not killing it that year, say, hey, look, this is kind of how we're doing right now. I'm giving you what I can. And be transparent and genuine about it. Because there's going to be a season where you can't give squat back. You know, and that's what it is.
Been there.
You know, so I think, you know, in the construction business, that's a lot of us, you know, we're going to give everything we can, you know, at the end of the day. And not everybody's going to believe that, because that's not popular perception. But on the other hand, too, like, you do still have to keep the company and the mothership healthy. You know, unfortunately, that's business and banking and credit and all those relationships.
I've
never
met a single construction business owner that's thought or said or acted in a way that suggests that they're only trying to make more money for themselves.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen it. And public companies are different.
Yeah.
Big companies are different. I've seen that happen with big companies. I've seen that happen with public companies, but privately held construction businesses, I've never once seen, I need to maximize profit for my gain.
Yeah. I mean, we live in the world of long-term return on investment. Like, that's what we build. That's what we live. That's where we have to invest our dollars. You know, you're paying for this excavator for 4, 5, 6 years, however long you choose to finance. And you better run that puppy paid for a little while too. You know? So but that takes a while.
but I think it's also because there's more than just money. I don't want to be one of the people that downplays money. I think people do that all the time. It's like, okay, so how do you pay your mortgage? With money? Oh, okay. So money, like, it's pretty important.
It's a tool.
It's a tool. It makes the world go round.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's other parts of the world that I've previously referenced. It's like making money. That is the game. That is all that there is. It is just make more money. Pile it up. Whereas here, it's like, yeah, we're making money, but we're also building stuff. Like, we're also creating value in the world. We're also providing a service. We're also ensuring that our communities can have water and sewer and build new manufacturing plants, whatever it is. And so I think it's also due to the fact that there's just more here.
Yeah. And, you know, our industry, we learn, I feel like, quicker and more frequent, you know, through, we're sensitive to a lot of things, weather, economic downturn, clientele, you know, clients and relationships moving around. You know, we're an environment that changes a lot.
Weather.
And what you realize, you know, that pile per se, you can always make more of it, and it can provide you some, you know, day-to-day comfort, but it doesn't do anything to fix and make you happy here or here.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, for me, that's more of a faith component, but, you know, however you choose to look at it, you know, plenty of sayings about it. Money does not, will never buy you happiness. It can buy you luxury and good food and vacation homes and planes and all that stuff. If your goal is to make as much of it as possible, but it can disappear just as easy as it got made. And, you know, relationships and the people in your life, that's what you find you really care about. You know, it's no different than, you know, if you've got a pet, like, hey, best feeling in the world is walking in the door and seeing that dog wag its tail, you know?
Yeah.
Like, no money can provide you that.
No.
You know, or a kid running up to you and giving you a hug, or, you know, a good spouse, you know, whatever it may be. Like, that's why you're really working anyway half the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why'd you guys start a podcast?
As we grew and as we put on more people quicker, you know, you've got to find a way to kind of get them up to your standard quicker, know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good way to say one thing in a spot in time. And it's almost like a time capsule. Like, I sat down one day and I told the team, I'm like, look, I talk about the core values in our leadership training with all our foremen and superintendents, but I really want everyone to hear the same message. So we did a podcast on each core value, and I sat down and said, hey, this is what it meant to me and my family. This is the expectation here when you come work with us, and, you know, forever and all time, I've got it now.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just trying to make people more relatable, you know, to new hires. And, you know, you talk to this guy named Wesley that dispatches every day. If you've been here, and maybe we hired you in another state and you never met him, but you talk to him every single day, man, maybe you ought to know, like, who he really is. So that's part of why we did it. Just trying to, you know, tell our story a little more.
And how's it been received? How's it gone? It's
gone over really well. I mean, we've got to tell some really cool stories. We've had like a Mother's Day episode.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was super cool. My mom got to come on and talk about, you know, some of the stuff I've talked about today.
Yeah.
I've got coworkers with their kids now here growing up in the business. So, you know, we got to hear plenty of stories about mom that maybe not everybody wanted to know, but that was part of it. You know, it's trying to still try and, as we scale to a bigger size, really try and make it like one family. I mean, spend a lot of your life here. You might as well make it worthwhile and care about who you're working with. And no better way to say it. Hey, that's a great part about technology. I can say it one time and it goes on our app and everybody sees it. Hey, not everybody's going to listen to it, but I'm probably going to reach 10 people I wouldn't have reached otherwise.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, which makes it very worthwhile.
Yeah.
10 out of however many hundreds. It's like, that's huge value. That's a very good use of time, I think.
Or it may not work today. Like, I may have somebody that leaves and takes a couple of turns somewhere else or a couple of somewhere else's and decides to come back to us because of some of the stuff they learn about us or know how we represent, you know? You know, I don't know. Just trying to spread that message a couple of different ways, a couple of different platforms. Everybody consumes content a little differently now, so that's one way to do it. You know?
Well, it's been exciting to follow along with. After this, we're gonna go probably with Aaron out to the whatever you guys call it. Is there a fun name for it, or is
it's just the training ground?
Training ground. You guys need to.
Yeah, we could coin it probably some other different way.
Yeah, it needs to be
part of like
Strack's. I don't know. I'll work on it. I'll workshop that while I'm out there. No, I'm excited to see it because I feel like you guys been working on that for quite a while now.
It's an effort. I mean, it's a lot of time, effort, money, and care, and it's not possible for everybody to go do something like that. And at some point, we got to come together as an industry and do this together.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that if you're going to go do it and be genuine, the hard thing to go replicate is the care and the values.
Yeah.
And that's what, man, you know, when you start talking about this at a larger place and like, you're going to have to make some hard decisions. And at some point, somebody's not going to be here that is a really good person, but may not have aligned with those values all the way. And, you know, that's the hard part about doing it industry wide, I think, is, you know, you could put some of us together and I think we could do well, but you can't put everybody together easily, you know?
No. And
that's what I struggle to try and figure out, but we need a standard across the industry. I feel like
give me like till, I don't know, 2035 or so.
Yeah.
Like I want to.
Yeah. You're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
You've been enough places like
give me
somebody like you will figure that out. Like us, we're fighting the fight in our world, but you know, more and more and more of us, I think, are aligning our thoughts in the same way. Like,
it's so many. Yeah, like so many.
Hoopos folks came and visited us, and you know, we're all fighting the same struggles. Like when I talked to Anthony Garcia, I mean, it's they are us, you know, talking to them. I mean, it's just like, all right, we got the same struggles and want the same things. We all want to leave it better than we found it, basically. You know, the old Boy Scout motto.
And I know each culture is different, but I think that's like one of the things I've seen with contractors is they all think they're more special than they are. And it's like, you're moving dirt.
Yeah, we're all like there's no like super secret thing going on.
There really is not that much different. And that's me intentionally oversimplifying, but it's like, if you're building on specifications, Georgia DOT, you're building the same exact thing. You have to build the same thing. So like you can do some things different, but not a lot. There's
standard and then there's technique. Yeah. You know, and you know, that was a good way Wally phrased it to me one day. And I'm like, man, that's really smart. And he's right. I mean, we're all we're doing the same thing. We may have our little idiosyncrasies and do it a little different one way or another. But at the end of the day, you know, pipes going in the ground, dirt's going from point A to point B, getting packed and built on in some way, shape, or form, maybe conditioned. But, you know, your differentiator is always your people, how you treat them, your culture. And I think most of us that are, you know, in the upper half of the field. Like, man, we want good people to live a good life, leave something behind for our families and our coworkers, and leave behind a healthy workplace, at the end of the day, and hope somebody else can pick it up and be a good steward and provide the life we've had, and hey, leave something behind in this world. That's the awesome thing about all this is, I can walk around the office or drive up the road or whatever, and I can show anybody I know or any family member, man, we worked on this. This is like really, really cool.
Sure.
We help make something better.
Yeah. Well, this worked out quite nicely.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was able to sit down and
I've enjoyed it.
Chat with you finally.
Yeah, for sure. Long overdue.
Yeah. I don't even know how we initially connected, but it was a few years ago now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, give me a few more years. And once we can figure out the software thing, that'll open up some doors, I think.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think it's something a group like us is, like we've talked about, we're uniquely positioned to do something in this realm because I don't bid against another contractor anywhere ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like we don't bid against people. We can move faster than associations can.
Yeah.
Because we have startup mentality, startup business, which creates its own set of problems.
Yeah.
But we're not beholden to a specific region under a certain set of guidelines. So it's going to be a really fun few years now that we're out of the hole we dug ourselves.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see more and more ways that public or tax dollars end up helping workforce development in our business, in our industry. So hopefully, I think you'll get some traction for sure.
Yeah. We actually just did get a grant, the state of Ohio, for something.
Yeah, and I think
big.
More and more of that. I know the state of Georgia's in the work for some of that.
Yeah.
We just got a tax credit passed where we can help fund construction ready here in Georgia.
Wow.
So
Cool.
yeah, you can divert some of your state tax dollars to help construction ready. You can do the same with schools as well in the state.
That's fantastic.
That was a really big lift, and we've had a scholarship fund for years. What we really need those dollars directed towards workforce development.
Yeah.
More than scholarship dollars.
Yeah.
At this point, and we're all fighting the same fight, and some folks that are starting out, they don't have the bandwidth to do all this. And the ones of us that do and have the ability to do it, if we can help, we should help.
Yeah, the scholarship thing's good, but the ROI in the grand scheme of things is very low.
Yeah.
It's more so to say we give out this amount of dollars as scholarships every year. We feel good, like we're making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I've been the recipient of some of those scholarships, and it's just like, you write a paragraph, and then they sometimes just send you the check just in the mail.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was shocked when I got some of these scholarships, because it's like, you guys don't, like, it's just like money in the mail that they just send me. It's like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, love Strack. Hopefully we can see one of your jobs one of these days.
Yeah,
but this afternoon we'll get out with Aaron and take it from there.
Go have fun.
Cool.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.